Yo, what's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of Who's the Master? Yo, it is the spooky season, and so with that theme, we decided to review some horror-themed movies, and we're going to start out with Werewolf by Night. It's a Disney Plus product. It's directed by Michael Giacchino, created by Jack Russell. The character, anyways, created by Jack Russell. This particular property is starring Gael Garcia Bernal and Laura Donnelly. This is Marvel's attempt to go dark. They capitalized on the Halloween season and did a darker themed product. We're going to have some thoughts about that in a little while and what we mean by darker theme, because it's not just about the aesthetic, it's about some of the things that happen inside that are maybe more adult themed than what we're used to from Marvel. Of course, Marvel is known for their PG-13 product because that's what brings in the cash, that's what sells the merchandise, because you get those kids coming in. Well, this time they decided to say, screw all that, it's Halloween, bodies are going to be dropped, and we're going to go ahead and expand on that a little bit more. We also want to find out and ask ourselves, hey, is this going to be something that Marvel's going to do more in the future? Is this maybe a trial run to see if we do get more adult-themed Marvel content? Because that's something a lot of us have been wanting to see. So we'll discuss that a little bit here as well. But we're going to break it down, and we're going to do it a little bit differently. We decided to get organized here at Who's the Master. Normally we like chaos. We subscribe to the theme that chaos is the ladder, mainly because we're all lazy. But we like to make it sound like we're doing it on purpose. We're going to go ahead and break it down by sections. So we're going to go the good, the bad, and the trash. Actually, let's go ahead and get some thoughts on the black and white, first of all, before we get to that with Vince and Aaron.
Well, when it came to the black and white, I was all on board with it. I like the adult theme Marvel. It built high expectations. This looked like an homage to old school horror movies, so I was definitely on board. What were your thoughts, E?
Yeah, man, I definitely thought that they were going for, an artistic range of bringing in the old and the new and kind of combining it together, kind of juxtaposing the generations, so to speak, if you want to get artistic with it. Definitely you want to think about things like the Bride of Frankenstein, the Blob, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. You got to think about it. So the golden age of film technically was the 50s, and the main people driving stuff in were teenagers. And during that time, this is the golden age of movies, monster movies, I should say. And what were teenagers going to see? The Thing from Beyond, them, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, those type of movies. So this is their chance to kind of, a lot of these older executives relive their youth, while also, bringing a new generation and everything in between. So I think that it was pretty cool that they used the black and white.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool, too. It definitely reminds you a lot of those classic Colombian horror movies, the Bela Lugosi's Dracula, Creature from Beyond, etc., etc. Yeah, this is definitely a very cool aesthetic. Let's go ahead and get into some of the good about this show. By the way, we will be discussing a lot of spoilers with the show, so spoiler warning up top. But, let's go ahead and talk about some of the things we liked about this show, some of the good. Vince, do you want to go ahead and kick this off?
Well, I thought the monsters were great. I loved Man-Thing. His visual jumped off the screen to me. I liked the way he was presented. I liked even when he crushes a guy's skull with his hands one time.
Yeah.
I thought it was all the way live. The transformation of Jack into the werewolf, I thought was off the charts. I mean, it had that old school kind of jerky vibe to it that I was really happy to see. So I thought the monsters kind of were one of the highlights of the show altogether.
Yeah, I loved the Man-Thing kills, man. Man-Thing, when he killed some dudes, he didn't just kill some of them, he killed all of them. You know what I'm saying? And as far as the werewolf transformation, that was really a throwback transformation. I think he might have some more thoughts on that because he is a horror buff. It really just reminded me of those classic werewolf movies, like we talked about the Colombian werewolf movies. And so, yeah, I thought that was live. Interesting tidbit on Man-Thing. All of you know who Swamp Thing is. The creator of Man-Thing was living with a roommate when he created Man-Thing for Marvel. That roommate would then steal that idea and go to DC and create Swamp Thing. So not only is Swamp Thing stolen, it's stolen by the best friend of the guy who created Man-Thing. And that's some whack shit. So, Aaron, I know you're the Arturic eye here. Go ahead and give us some thoughts on some of the things you liked about the directing and pacing of this
I mean, I definitely felt as though the directing and pacing of this whole, thing was, like I said, it was a throwback. And one good catch that you did make, Ancho, was how they did the werewolf transformation. The werewolf transformation didn't really change until American Werewolf in London. That's like in 1981 or whatever. The guy, Rick Baker, I believe he won an Oscar for that.
Yep.
But if you look at any werewolf movie before that, typically it's going to have this kind of generic, cheesy transfer. It looks cheesy now because of what we grew up on and what we saw. But I thought that was pretty cool that they threw it back. I thought the performances for what they were given were pretty good. Gail versus Bernal, he was supposed to be the big, Latin high actor. He was supposed to be what Antonio Banderas became, in my personal opinion. But I thought the pacing was good. I thought the setup of shots were good. I thought the use of black and white so they could be more gory was a good little thing on it, twist on it too. So parents don't flip out with kids. They're probably using like chocolate syrup or something as opposed to whatever they use these days. It's all type of different stuff. But those are the positives. I thought the directing was good. Oh, and also one thing I did like about this a lot was the actual sound design. And a lot of times sound design doesn't get a lot of credit in films, but I thought they had a pretty good sound design, especially when they were in the maze and things of that nature. But that's just me.
Yeah, the music was definitely a throwback as well. I like what you said about I like what you said about the acting. I thought the chemistry between the actors was really good. Yeah. So yeah, I agree on all that 100%, and I do think that if Marvel does want to go more adult oriented, we all realize that they've now given themselves a way to do it. But I mean, it's just the thing is like, are they going to do them all black and white? Because that's going to be kind of tired. So we'll see if this ends up providing them with a pathway to maybe consider doing more of that. But in the future, I think if they want to go R, they just got to do it, right? They find a nice little cute way to do it for this one, but they just got to do it. Let's talk about some of the things that we didn't like. Let's talk about the bad first. V, I know you had a lot of hot opinions about this property, so we'll let you start off with the bad.
Well, one of the worst things about it, because when they first introduced the characters and you feel like there's about to be a hunt, I had no connection to those characters that they were introducing because I didn't feel as though there was a lot of character development. I mean, there are some interesting visual characters. We got the really tall guy, long and skinny. I mean, you see him. You got a little bit about
the androgynous vampire-looking dude.
Yeah. You got information about the amount of kills they had, but I didn't have anything vested into any of the characters. And then, of course, and I don't know the actress who played Verussa.
Laura Donnelly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Verussa.
Elsa. Oh, are you talking about stepmom?
Yeah, I'm talking about the stepmom. The stepmom was William Shatner-esque overacting. I mean, it was taking me out of scenes. It was so horrific the way she was trying to play her hand. I was like, good God, I don't know if I can watch her in too many more scenes if she keeps this up. And I mean, some of that may have been the material she was given, trying to pull it off. But I know there are actors that can, and in my opinion, she did not. And I just felt like she was, just grating on my nerves the whole time I saw her.
Yeah, Harriet Sansom Harris is her name. So. I agree with you on that 100%.
So that wasn't even, I wouldn't even call it bad. I'd call it awful.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was awful. I think she was given the direction to do that, but I know what you mean. I think that if you go back and you look at like villains from the thing, they always ham it up, and she was definitely hamming it up. But you're right though. But now that I think about it, kind of like his Matthew McConaughey thing that we'll talk about at another time for people. He may be onto something there.
So. I agree with you on the characters. Like you said, the characters all look cool. I mean, we didn't have a dude that looked kind of Blade-ish, but we didn't get any info on them. And that wasn't the only thing we didn't get a lot of info on. Aaron, talk to me a little bit more about some of the stuff that didn't seem as fleshed out as we would have liked.
I mean, everything just didn't seem. This is the thing. It wasn't anything specific for me. So, like, there's a lot of wall decorations. So there was a lot of setup. There was a lot of things that I looked at. Like, I like the design. I like the house. I like the production design. I like the costumes. I like the foundation of the lore, but they never delved deep into the lore, and that's my biggest complaint right there. It was just so abrupt. It just seemed like they were just moving along, like, hey, let's get this out, let's get this in, let's get it out, and let's get into the story, let's get out the story. The love story. There's always a werewolf love story, and I just think that it was just. The bad for me was just too short. It should have been a series. They should have fleshed things out. They should have taken their time. They gave us a lot of pretty things to look at. They gave us a lot of good things to hear. Quick with certain things, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. You even stole a little bit of my thunder because I was going to be my point. Is it should have been a series. There's a ton of potential that was unrealized here. Marvel, their series have been very hit or miss, and honestly, none of them have been true hits for me except for outside of Loki. And, you know, if you watch what I do on Bass Rail Brothers, we're going to drop our final She-Hulk review actually today. That being a series was awful. Okay, that should not have been a series. I would love to see this as a series because, like we said, there's a lot of stuff we actually enjoyed about it, and a lot of the bad is we just didn't get enough of it. And so I don't know how they decided to do this as a one-shot when it had so much potential, and it was done so well. It was done with a really cool artistic vibe. But, you know, you got the bad and the good, and that's one side of it. But here at Who's the Master, we definitely like to go in when we want to go in. And so let's talk about what we love talking about, and that is what was trash about this show. Vince, we've let you be the lead. We like to let our elders go first. So let's just keep with tradition, and let's let old man start it out.
All right.
Vince, give us the trash.
All right. The whole movie was trash. I'm gonna come out the gate. I know you guys kind of like.
You're gonna give us a bunch of things and go like 20 minutes longer than we wanted you to do on the good.
We know the acting was trash.
And then you can come back now and you say, but the whole thing was trash.
The whole thing was trash. Let me explain it to you, because whenever you have a movie that's rooted in it's supposed to be somewhat horror, somewhat action. You've got werewolves. You've got hunts. You're supposed to have some fabulous kills. The problem with this movie is all of that you're supposed to have, and this movie was still boring as hell. About 20 minutes into the movie, I was ready to hit the off button. The only reason I finished this movie was so that we could do this podcast, because the movie was absolutely terrible from the standpoint of I do not want to watch this further. I got to the point where, hey, I enjoyed the characters. Like I told you, I love the visual of the visual of the man thing. I love the visual of the werewolf. But from the standpoint of plot, from the standpoint of what could have been, this movie was horrific, man. Marvel let me down.
All right, so I think you said in the pre-show, and you just completely split things. You weren't invested in the plot, and I was going to ask you if a good series would change your mind, and you wouldn't give me an answer on that. But you decided to just blow all that up and just say you hate all of it, which I respect. I respect the fact that you just decided to change your mind at the drop of a dime within literally minutes after we talked about it earlier.
But I'll tell you this though, Ansel. You mentioned there was potential for something good here. Was there the potential? The set design, like E mentioned, was absolutely wonderful. I think the characters could have been more fleshed out. The problem though is that I think the writing and how they came about everything, it just came off to me as a boring movie. So if you'd have to have a lot more in order for me to have any kind of vested interest movie.
Well, let's let Aaron get his piece in. Aaron, go ahead and give me what you hated about this.
Well, I'll say this. It's not going to be anything that I saw on screen, even though it wasn't the best movie. What I say the trash is the executives, the people who greenlighted, the producers, because I don't know if they just were like, hey, we want to have some budgetary restraints, or we're worried about if we want to, wet their beak a little bit and see if their Disney families would, want to be, cool with, blood and horror and stuff on the screen. But when you have a concept like this, it ties in exactly what Vince says. You have a concept like this, you have the characters, you have the production design, you have the sound design, you have the visuals, you have the black and white template, you have everything, and you have great actors. You have everything lined up to have a great show, and what you decide to do is hold back for some reason. Anyone you could throw a damn dart at a board to kind of figure out what that reason is. But whoever greenlit these decisions and decided that this would be a good idea, they are trash in this situation, because they had a great situation to where they could have took advantage of October. They could have brought in a different audience to Marvel, a whole different viewpoint, and they decided to wet the bed on it. So that's trash to me. I
agree 100%, especially when you look at the character of Elsa. So this is a character that was created originally as an answer to Buffy, even though the creators of Elsa don't like to admit that. 100% she was created in 2001 as the answer to Buffy. And this is a type of female lead that can carry, that's been proven that they can carry a series. A female that hunts monsters has been proven to be a success. You want a good female lead for a good property? Elsa Bloodstone could have been it. And then you get great other characters in Jack and Man-Thing as supporting characters who can carry potential episodes. Yeah, this had all sorts of potential to be a series, and instead you greenlit other trash. and didn't greenlight this. I don't get it either. Also, one of the things I did not like about this series, I'm a little bit higher on than these other two, but the black and white hindered the action scenes, especially with the werewolf. I thought the fight choreography with the werewolf was not good, and I thought the black and white action scenes, especially when they had the flashing black and white, they might have done it to hide some of the VFX and hide the fact that they couldn't pull it off, but it's noticeable, and I thought it was trash, and I did not like that. So let's go ahead and move on, and let's kind of just ask ourselves the important question with this show: does Marvel pull this off? Now, Vince, we've let you talk a lot. And you definitely obliged. Yeah, you definitely took advantage. So we're going to start with something that's maybe a little bit more succinct. Aaron, let's let you start this off.
I think that Marvel pulled it off in this regard. They put it out there. There's been a pretty good response to it. It's obvious that your biggest complaint is that, think about it. My biggest complaint is I wanted more. It's not that they put it out. Like it wasn't just like a Clash of the Titans remake. I'm like, why did they make this? You just want to rip everyone's arm off. This is one of those things to where you're like, man, they actually had a good plot here. They had a good product here. They could have did better. So I wanted more. So in the essence, they pulled it off, but the execution was subpar, if that makes sense.
I agree with you. They pulled it off because our main complaint is, why did we not get more of this? Why didn't I get more plot about the characters, etc., etc. A majority of our complaints is we want more of this and you didn't give us enough. It's like when you get a good meal at a restaurant and they give you a small portion, you're like, why did you give me this tiny portion, but you gave me, a bunch of the vegetables, right? So that's our biggest complaint. So yeah, I think they pulled it off from that. Vince, let's try to be quick on this.
No.
Okay. Very well done, Vince.
Well, let me just say this: if Marvel's gonna lean into a horror movie, lean into it. Give me some scares. Give me some jumps. Make me look at that and have some thoughts after I finish watching the show. I don't think they pulled that off at all. Lean into it if you're gonna do it.
Well, let's ask the final question here and then give our scores real quick. Will Marvel continue this dark path? I'm gonna start this one off. I hope so. But when it comes to Marvel, it's all about the economics. It's all about the marketing. It's all about the merchandising. If this show does well in those areas, then it will lead them to doing more dark things. Will that happen? I don't think so. Honestly, I don't have a lot of faith that Marvel will continue this dark path, even though I think creatively it shows that they could. E, what about you?
I think they will. I'm opposite. I think that Marvel's going to continue this. Like I said, I think they're looking to see what they're going to get away with, and I think that Deadpool 3 is going to have a big call on their future. I think the real reason they're pushing this Blade movie back is because the director wanted to go R, Marvel didn't, and now they're just going to try to check out the landscape. So we'll see what Deadpool 3 does. If Deadpool 3 is a hit for Marvel, which it will be just because of who's in it, I think that they'll be more inclined to pull the trigger on some of these more darker things. And also think about it. Vince, you like the Man-Thing, kills and things like that. So when you see responses like that, in their think tanks, I think that they'll move forward with some more dark material.
All right, V, let's let you go next.
I agree with E. I think that if there's a market for it, then Marvel will put it out and they'll do. I think the product will get better, because we all agree that if this was fleshed out more, we think it would have been better. So I think that they have an opportunity here, and I expect them to go down that path.
All right, guys, let's give our quick scores and then go ahead and wrap this up. I'll start out with this one. I wasn't as low on it as these guys. Now, did I think it was great? No. I would say that if you have an hour to kill and you want something decent to watch and you've watched all the good stuff that there is to watch, it's worth a watch. And for that, I'm going to give it a 7. V?
If you've got an hour to kill, don't watch this movie. Go do something else more recreational that you actually enjoy doing. Go wash your car, take your kids to the park. Don't watch this movie. No, it's a 3 for me, and I wouldn't recommend it at all.
3, wow, okay.
I give it a mid. If you're gonna watch it, don't watch it alone. Don't watch it like on a date or anything. If you're like over 21 or whatnot. But if you have some kids who are about, I would say 10 to 14, that you just want to kill an hour with them, I think it's worth a watch. So I give it a 5. It's a mid to me.
All right, so yeah, 2 out of 3 people agree this is an awful. The third person is all over the place because he didn't even give it that low in the pre-show. Just so you know, he gave it higher in the pre-show than he just gave it right now. This man is inconsistent as they come. All right, so yeah, we hope you enjoyed this. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button, hit comment below, and then hit that subscribe button up top. And until next time, peace.
Peace.
Peace.